This is a Kahan TV Sports Break. I got Vlad Katajcik, our NBA expert, in studio today, and we're discussing the DaMarcus Cousins trade at the trade deadline. He got dealt from the Kings to the Pelicans, who already have a big man in one Anthony Davis.
Yes.
So, my question to you, Vlad, is this a good trade for the Pelicans? Does this increase their chances to make the playoffs? And do you think they will make the playoffs?
Great question. Great question right off the bat. Do I think they will make the playoffs, right? I will say, as they played already a couple games, 4 or 5 games, I think, with Cousins, they look awful. They look dreadful. Now, some could say, well, when you trade a player of DaMarcus Cousins' caliber in the middle of the season with like 25 games left in the season, what do you expect? He's just thrown into a new team, new surroundings, having to play with Anthony Davis. It's an adjustment period. So maybe they won't see the full effects till next season. But right now, it looks bad. They won one game so far, and it's the game that he was suspended for because he had too many technicals already for the season. So he got suspended one game. I don't know. Cousins has a reputation as a horrific teammate, a guy that just he's crazy, that he's over emotional, that he's just all these things that that cancer in the locker room, and all these things. So we don't know how it's going to play out. But was it a trade that the Pelicans needed to make? I say yes, because really, what great players or good players could they actually get to come to New Orleans? Who's going to help Anthony Davis? They want to keep Anthony Davis, and this was a way to do it, basically. Bottom line, they wanted to keep Davis. They wanted to make sure that he stays there long term, and they felt getting a player of Cousins' talents, whatever baggage that comes with it, is worth the risk. And really, they didn't have to give up that much to get him. I mean, Buddy Hield, a couple of other players, Tyreek Evans. I mean, nothing that's unless Buddy Hield becomes this great player that nobody sees coming. I mean, this was a trade that they had to make to try to get some real talent in New Orleans. So, we'll see. We'll see.
Well, my one question for you, Vlad, is do you think Cousins and Davis can coexist on the floor, especially in this new NBA? A lot of teams are going smaller,
right,
going more quick-paced,
right,
and we don't really see this Twin Towers thing like we used to with David Robinson and Tim Duncan,
right,
and even Charles Oakley and Patrick Ewing were two. So it was always two big guys. We're seeing a lot of teams go with maybe one big guy, not even sometimes none at all, playing a traditional small forward as like their center. But do you think the time has passed for Twin Towers, or can Cousins and Davis actually, even with the whole off-season
right,
and training camp together, can they figure out something in today's NBA to become a winning team? Or is it just an idea that should not be tried anymore?
Well, the reason I think it could work because it's not like you're thinking of like the Patrick Ewing, Charles Oakley thing where you have two bruisers inside, like two guys that love to be in the paint and just like have that contact there. Davis is more of a modern NBA center where he's on the outside. He's very versatile. He's athletic. He can if there's a screen set, he can actually guard sometimes. He's very mobile. He's very mobile in that regard. He's not like Patrick Ewing or David Robinson, who's more, and he has to be inside to be effective. So in that way, I think Davis' versatility can make this whole thing work. But Cousins, I don't know, just because. Just never. Everywhere he goes, drama seems to follow him wherever he goes. He's hot-tempered. He's a little bit, out there. So I don't know. Nobody knows how it's going to work with him and Davis. Obviously, he respects Davis, and I think they get along as maybe on a personal level. But when you play basketball, it's all about how it works on the court. Obviously, another thing to consider is players around them. They have to have some. They have no real good players outside those two guys. Nobody that they can really rely on the perimeter. So I don't know. Yes, I think they could make it work because of Davis, but how good they're actually going to be depends on the players around those two guys. They're going to need some guys that will actually help them, on the perimeter to get those guys the ball in the right situations, and they don't have that at the moment.
All right, thanks for your thoughts, Vlad. We'll be back with more NBA Sports Break after these words.